If the flap goes like over or like under or
it's
behind.
Over. It's over.
Okay. Well, what was the year? It was.
It's not a debate. It's over.
Okay, for some people it was. I have the date in here, 1891. So the patent actually showed the toilet
paper or for the roll?
Yes, for
okay.
the toilet paper roll. The patent for that in 1891 shows it over. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Doodie Calls.
Yes, what is this, 7, 8?
I think
something
it's
8. Like that. 8?
I think.
Cool.
Who knows?
Cool. So we're still making them.
Yeah. There's so many we can't count.
Yes. Anyways, what are we talking about?
Well, I think we have a fun video today. We're going to talk about the history of porta potties, and we have a couple fun facts thrown in there as well. Things I know I didn't think about at all. So,
yeah.
Just, it's kind of, I don't know, anything to add to that?
Yeah, just history of the portable restroom and a few of the specifics to the industry, and then, some of the stuff we use in the portable restrooms. We're not going to talk about like toilet paper or anything, but like the blue deodorizer that's in the tank and that kind of thing. So I've got a long list of notes here with dates and
I kind of
people
do.
And so I think you have the earliest, so go ahead.
Yes, I have a couple things. I have notes here again, of course, but to get started, as far as historians know, the first ever porta potty was created in the 14th century BC in ancient Egypt. So basically with that, the device consisted of a wooden stool with a hole cut in it.
So like a bucket.
Yeah, and attached to that stool was a vase-like implement.
Okay.
And it appears as though that device specifically was luxury. They found them. It was pretty common, found in tombs and things like that.
Okay.
The next
doesn't sound that luxury.
Okay, but we're talking about 14th century BC here.
Okay.
Ancient Egypt.
Yes.
But anyways, the next one I have here is what they call the ancient Greek chamber pots. So they were the first commonly used portable restroom. They were created in the 6th century BC by the ancient Greeks, known as chamber pot. Well, just reading the notes here. This device was essentially a small pot in which a user would relieve him or herself, and they were primarily used in the middle of the night, made out of stone, tin, and a variety of other materials. So, That's as rudimentary as it gets.
Yeah. And none of these were enclosed. They were, I suppose you could consider them porta potty, but they're not going to they don't sound like they would even closely resemble what
we know today.
We know today, but even what was developed later on in the 1940s.
Sure.
Those had privacy features built in, or the design was built around some privacy features that I'm assuming they don't have.
At that time, they didn't really care about privacy. Because, you had, the public baths.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think privacy was a thing.
Yeah, it was a different time, for sure.
Anyways.
So fast forwarding from there, or is there more?
Well, fast forwarding, this is just a little fun fact I wanted to throw in. So, there's kind of a debate for toilet paper. If the flap goes over or under or behind.
It's over.
Okay. Well, what was the year? It was.
It's not a debate. It's over.
Okay, for some people it was. I have the date in here, 1891. So the patent actually showed the toilet
paper or for the roll?
Yes, for the toilet paper roll. The patent for that in 1891 shows it over. So fun fact, it's supposed to be over, and if you say under, you're wrong.
According to the patent, we'll just
and of three out of 4 people.
Disclaimer, yeah.
So, that's just a personal opinion. But anyways.
So, all right. Fast forwarding to what we would call a portable restroom today.
Mm-hmm.
They first started in the 1940s. They started on shipyards, at shipyards, on ships actually, and they were invented. They made them out of wood sides. All the sides on the roof and everything were wood, and then they cut a 55-gallon barrel in half and I guess somehow fastened a toilet seat to it, and that's what it was.
Okay.
That was the first porta potty. By
Today's
with enclosures or with that's enclosed.
Okay.
Still very rudimentary. Rudimentary. They didn't have deodorizer.
That'd be rough.
They, at that time, I don't think they really had people like us, like with service trucks or anything. I'm honestly not sure how they were cleaned or if they were. I know that a lot of people said that
They
odor.
have to be cleaned somehow, or like
You would think
somehow, right?
You would think. I'm not sure how. That part wasn't discussed.
Specified.
Yeah. But the odor was a big issue. Or a big complaint, I guess, by the people that used it. But they did really increase efficiency when building ships. And during the 40s, a lot of that was for the war effort.
Mm-hmm.
And so it increased efficiency because people didn't have to go to shore to use the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how they kind of started. And then, let's see here. Then in the 50s, the deodorizer was actually, I'm not going to say invented because deodorizers were pretty commonplace in other industries.
Okay.
But in the 50s, deodorizers started to be used in portable restrooms specifically. And these portable restrooms in the 50s, they were still a form of wood with a tank in them. And most of the time that tank was made of steel. I was reading that they weighed anywhere from 350 to 400 pounds.
So were they really all that portable?
Well, they were portable, but they weren't easy to move, is what that sounds like. It sounds like they were large and heavy. Also, the wood trapped a lot of odor. It didn't let any light or anything like that in. And then eventually, because of, the origination of portable restrooms was with shipyards.
Mm-hmm.
Ships and boats and that industry started using fiberglass as a material for boats. Then, so the fiberglass material kind of took off and people started making portable restrooms out of fiberglass. They're a lot lighter weight than wood. So they were lighter weight and a little bit easier to move, but they were brittle, fragile. They'd break pretty easily. And they also, I think they said fiberglass trapped a lot of odors. And the gentleman that started using fiberglass was named George Harding. Okay. George Harding was a pretty prominent figure early on and throughout a lot of the history of the portable sanitation industry as a whole. Mm-hmm. I read somewhere that he was actually the one he was working on shipyards building ships. And he developed the first one out of wood too. And this, I believe, was in California, the Bay Area.
Long Beach.
Long Beach, okay. So, based on one source, he was the inventor of the wood portable restroom and then transitioned that into fiberglass. I don't know if it was him specifically or somebody else, or maybe he was just around it when the wood one was built, but he was responsible for the fiberglass unit. Mm-hmm. And then, so that was in the 1960s. Units, okay. Fiberglass trapped odor, which we talked about. And then in the 60s, the original builder was, like I just said, George Harding. He is also a co-founder of Polyjon. He is the patent holder, or was the patent holder, for polyethylene portable restrooms. So plastic portable restrooms. So in the 60s, he filed the patent. I think it was the 60s that he filed the patent, and the first plastic portable restroom was made. Now, looking back, they look like they're one piece, whereas ours today have multiple pieces. Most units today have multiple pieces. Yes. You get your three sides, your door frame, your base, your skid, your tank,
there's a few
roof.
Out there that are still one piece.
Yeah, there are TSF, which they started also back in the 60s and 70s. Mm-hmm. TSF units, they are a one-piece unit with a separate skid, floor, tank, then they've got a smaller roof in them. But yeah, so the first one looked like it was a single piece or one piece, uniform piece around the sides with a separate door. But yeah, this gentleman started, George Harding, he was one of the main pioneers from the manufacturing, the building, and the design side. Okay. And then going on, so plastic units are much lighter, obviously, and then they also allowed for replacement parts.
Sure.
So if the wood unit broke, like you're probably rebuilding the whole house, the whole outhouse. And I think that's probably where the term or the slang term for portable restroom outhouse, because if they're made out of wood, they pretty closely resembled what an outhouse, a legitimate outhouse, looked like. So anyways, they were repairable easier, which that allowed for companies, service providers, operators to start up by making them lighter so you could have more of them, move them more often. It wasn't portable. They were more portable, that's right. So you could start doing that, or start with that, and then you could also repair them a lot easier if they were to get damaged. Then in the
I was going to say, back in the 50s, you kind of touched on the deodorizers a little bit. Actually, they used to use formaldehyde.
Yes, everything.
It was pretty common up until they realized that, hey, maybe we shouldn't do that.
And I'm not sure. I think we could still, like, some manufacturers still make formaldehyde-based deodorizers.
I didn't think we could use them anymore. Or is it based on
disposal wastewater treatment plants? They can't treat that. Okay. In places that can, I know the formaldehyde-based deodorizers, at least I've heard they've worked well or worked better.
I mean, I'm sure. I just didn't think they were allowed anymore.
Most wastewater treatment plants won't accept them from a disposal aspect.
Sure.
So, and I think formaldehyde's kind of dangerous.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not a great substance.
Yeah. So, okay, going down here, speaking specifically to deodorizers, a gentleman named Ken Hollyoak, he was in the recreational vehicle industry, and this was in mid-1950s, I think. He saw a portable restroom, and he took the phone number and the name off of the door of the unit and called the owner of the company.
Okay.
And gave him a complimentary 55-gallon drum of RV, like camper, holding tank deodorizer.
Interesting.
Gave it to him, and I guess he said he followed up with him later, and the guy ordered 4 more drums, 4 more 55-gallon barrels of it.
Wow.
And then it says here that waste deodorizers were originally found in airplanes, and the blue dye was used in the Boeing 707s as early as 1958.
Wow. Okay.
So that's when the blue dye kind of all came together around the same time. In 1967, J&J Chemical was founded by Jerry and Judy Boyd.
Okay.
And I think that's the first record of a portable sanitation specific deodorizer manufacturer.
Okay.
So there's several companies out there that we can purchase from. I know we've bought a lot of stuff from J&J. As far as I could tell, they were the earliest to develop a portable restroom specific deodorizer. And one of the notes was that they worked with several chemists to remove the harsh chemical smells of deodorizers and were able to replace that with a sweet, like cherry-like scent, which is very common today still. Actually speaking with a representative that one of our sales reps for deodorizer, she said that cherry masked waste odor the best of all of the available or common scents that we could get for like the restrooms.
Cherry overtone. There's a science.
There is definitely a science to it.
She was talking about like the overtones and then like your undertones, but by far cherry.
Cherry did the best job overall. But another thing, I know I experience it every time I smell the deodorizer that we have. You kind of get nose blind to, well, for us in the industry, I'm nose blind to the odor side, but I'm also nose blind to a lot of the deodorizer side. I can still smell it, obviously, but when I walk into a unit, whether it's been recently serviced or, it hasn't been serviced in a week, I don't really smell anything either way, truthfully.
Okay.
So, and if we were to use it, like we switch up our deodorizer every time we reorder it.
Yeah.
So we kind of change the scent a little bit. And we do that because, if we're using the same deodorizer in a unit for a few months, then the people that are using it could also become nose blind to it.
Well,
and so
again,
if we switch it up, we can hopefully help eliminate a lot of that.
Yeah, like you said, we want to eliminate that. We know cherry does the best, but sometimes we do just want to see if something
mulberry, razzleberry. I am a little I'm a little partial to the berry, the kind of the warmer scents. I know we tried a kind of a citrusy scent.
There was a cinnamon one too that we
cinnamon
tried.
Works fantastic.
It works really well
but
if you can stand it.
It's strong, man. It's strong. Cinnamon is a very strong one. And I know Sheldon.
Bubblegum's pretty strong too.
Bubblegum too, and that's another warm scent.
Oh, fun fact,
Yeah.
not to cut you off. So I guess in Europe, their common
Yes.
deodorizer is like the scent that we know of root beer.
Yes.
So they think we're crazy when we drink root beer.
Yes.
That smell, I saw it on a video.
Which has vanilla for sure in it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the
I
other
don't really know
flavors are, but
I saw a video of it. It was just things that we do here that other places find interesting and or odd, and root beer was a major no.
Yes, and I think we can get root beer sent to Deodorizer, but we never
I'm sure
we
it
never
does
have.
well, but
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
You're good. So Deodorizers, J&J was founded in 1967.
Mm-hmm.
They worked with several chemists, and I think at that time they were still using formaldehyde-based deodorizers. I am not sure when a major transition took place from formaldehyde to more environmentally friendly deodorizer material or manufacturing processes. I'm not sure on that. I couldn't really find a whole lot of information, but I do know today all of the stuff we use is non-formaldehyde.
Right.
A lot of people don't use. I mean, the majority of all portable restroom operators in the United States they can't use formaldehyde-based deodorizers. So
yeah, I mean that's kind of why
the vast majority, if anybody anymore, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean that's why I thought it just wasn't allowed because most don't, and like you said, a lot of wastewater treatment facilities can't accept it.
And I've noticed it was a lot more common even when we started in 2016. Than it is today.
Was it really?
Yeah, we never got any, but it was a lot more common even then. Like on the sales brochures and the flyers and all that, they used to have both options side by side. They have a formaldehyde based and a non-formaldehyde based.
That's interesting. I kind of thought it was over and done with like way.
I think it was definitely on its way out, and I think now probably it's
I guess
for the most part
that
completely
stuff out
done. Yeah. Anyway, in the 70s, moving on from the 60s, the 70s, the PSAI, and at that time it was just the PSA, Portable Sanitation Association.
Okay.
Today it's the Portable Sanitation Association International, but the PSAI was created in the 70s, and they were trying to help standardize the industry. It kind of started with a list of all service providers because the industry, they noticed, was growing. It started kind of with, let's create a list of all the service providers. And then they started actually being able to, they found a lot of pioneers. A lot of the members or the people that we're going to talk about were early members of the PSAI. Mm-hmm. And they, started as a list of members, but then they were able to, I know in the, I think it was the 70s, later in the 70s, we had fuel rationing going on. And one of the members, I think it was Al Hild Jr., he went to the White House and actually lobbied on behalf of portable sanitation operators, saying that, this is a very necessary service, and we can't not have fuel to run our service trucks to be able to go out and service portable restrooms. Sure. So they were able to get kind of like I don't know how to describe it.
Was it kind of like a leniency?
A little bit, yeah. I'm not sure if they weren't subject to the rations or if they were able to fill up, because I think it was, you had even, like if your license plate ended in an even number, you could fill up on even days, and if your license plate ended in an odd number, you could fill up on odd days, for example. And I think that that part was what was removed, that they could fill up regardless of their license plate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I feel like that'd be kind of hard to track.
Yes. So then eventually, so units progressed. They started to become a lot more common on job sites and events. And then people started expanding into other equipment service offerings. So restroom trailers were invented in the late in the 90s. And then so were like job office holding tanks and freshwater tanks. Okay. Those I also read were starting to become a lot more common. And then in addition to all of that, computer softwares started taking off. And there was an article in the PSAI history that I was reading, or a paragraph in there, that was done as early as 1988.
Wow.
So
okay, cool.
That was when companies started kind of building softwares for portable restroom industries, whether that was inventory tracking or routing, dispatch, things like that. So those all kind of kicked off in the 90s, and then a lot has progressed to modern day. I want to talk about some of the notable figures. I just kind of wrote a sentence about each person. So George Harding, he was co-founder of Polyjohn, along with Ed Cooper, and there's another gentleman that I forgot his name. But George Harding created the first units at shipyards, and then later filed the patent for the first the plastic unit.
Yeah.
Andy Gump, 1956. He was one of the very early pioneers with putting portable restrooms on construction sites, and he did that starting 1956. Wood units around California. Al Hill Jr., 1958. He was in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Started with 36 units, a service truck, and a deodorizer formula that he made himself. And he I wrote here, he noticed that the military, coming back from the war, they always had enough food and clothes and shelter, but not enough portable restrooms.
Okay.
And so he was later, he started Satellite Industries.
Yeah.
And so he later, Satellite Industries started with service branches, and then now they're a manufacturer, a very large manufacturer. Gene Barnhart, 1959, started a TSF company in Indiana. He also began by servicing units and providing them, and then later transitioned into manufacturing. And we actually have a bunch of their units as well.
Yeah, that's what we started
from
with.
the 90s. Yep.
Weren't they?
Yep. Green units.
Ones?
Yep. We sell them now. We don't really rent them out. We still have a couple that are out on some lifetime permanent spots.
Yeah.
So still going. And then Clyde Sansom. I don't think any portable restroom list of notable figures and pioneers would be complete without Clyde Sansom. He was an operator. He really had a major impact in just about every part of the industry. He started as an operator. He also was the owner or founded Synergy World, which was a manufacturer of units. And then later, he was president of the PSAI. He was the first recipient of the Andy Gump Award, which I think is highest award that you can get from the PSAI.
Wow, that's really cool.
I think he was the first one in 1993, I believe. Served on the board. Really impacted the industry in a massive, massive way. I don't even think I could go through all of the list of his accomplishments. And he's one of many, obviously. There's several people that had a major impact on the industry and in the world. And then now he had Sansom units, Sansom Company. They are a new manufacturer. Synergy sold to Satellite Industries, or Satellite bought all the molds and the patents and everything on the design and on those units. And there's still a lot of those units in service, actually. I know they're widely regarded as one of the best construction grade units ever created. At least I've heard that from several other operators. And then Sansom, they build a really nice unit as well. So I've seen a bunch of those firsthand. And fast forward to today, 2020 was when these figures were a lot of these are estimates, but more than 3.6 million standard units in service across the world.
Wow.
Right now.
Okay.
Based on 2020. There's like 2.1 million of those 3.6 are in the U.S. and Canada, North America. And then, let's see here, approximately 3,500 companies in the United States alone that have portable restroom rentals and septic services as a primary business. So that would be like us. And then there's nearly 9,000 companies that provide one or the other or both as kind of like a tertiary service. So thinking like maybe some trash companies where solid waste hauling is their main business, but then they also have portable restrooms or septic pumping, or maybe excavation companies that also have a pump truck sort of thing. Sure. Almost 9,000 companies are involved with one or both services in addition to a main business line. And 3,500 companies in the U.S. that is their primary business line. So, and I think portable restrooms in the United States are like an upwards of a $2 billion industry, based on 2016 data. Okay. So, wow. It's grown a lot from the 40s when people were just building wood boxes and a cut in half 55-gallon barrel.
Well, speaking of that, I did do a little bit of research on my own. As far as portable restrooms designed for like miners, like being
Okay.
like I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So they're not designed like
underground
your
mines.
yeah,
Yeah.
so like they're not designed like your
Typical.
standard. And of course, I have more notes here. So basically, these were designed for miners, designed to avoid combustion, of course.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they have fully contained removable cartridges for your waste. So like that's how those are cleaned out.
Okay.
Which leads
they're just swapped out.
Yeah,
Okay.
kind of. And it's really interesting because they have something on here too. So the cartridges are designed to be stackable, so they can store easily and be transported easily in and out and things like that. But this company, Sanitec, for these units, they have a rotating bowl dry sanitation system.
Okay.
For those cartridges.
All right.
So their technology helps create a slippery surface in the bowl, so that'll allow things to be flushed, but without the use of water.
Okay.
So I thought that was kind of interesting.
So like a certain type of plastic or material?
Yes.
Okay.
And if they did have water, in most instances, that water would be used from like the hand washing basin inside the unit that is redirected to the bowl to act as that, like...
The water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Actually,
it sounds like a non-recirculating flushable unit. Like it has the sink that uses the water from the sink.
So the ones that do, but then of course they have the ones that don't that are still able to flush, but it's because of that material, that surface. I don't know. I thought that was interesting. And that's
for, you said combustion. That's probably because of the methane gas produced from waste. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Are they like the size of a standard unit, or are they bigger or smaller?
I saw a couple of pictures. So the ones that they have like above ground, they're still different as well. They almost looked like kind of like tins a little bit. But I didn't see any pictures of the ones that they actually used.
Interesting.
It was just a bunch of text and everything. But I did think that was interesting. And that Sanitec, that particular company, produced their first underground mining toilets. They were at least supplied in 2014. Okay. So I thought that was interesting.
That is interesting. We don't see a lot of those in central Kansas, so.
No.
But yeah, that is very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was kind of cool. Mm-hmm. Again, not something I really thought about. And of course it prevents, like that, the way they contain it prevents any spillage and things like that too.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of different kind of niches within the industry as a whole. I mean, I consider portable sanitation a fairly niche industry, depending on the situation or the conversation. But obviously, it's worldwide and it's a necessity. Mm-hmm. But certain parts of it definitely are niche, and then getting into that, it's even more so. And I was just thinking too, going back to the units. One of the biggest costs, I guess, when you purchase units, when you have to repair units, or really any part of our operation as a whole, whether we're buying equipment or material, or we're trying to deliver and service and maintain equipment, is shipping. Okay. And so plastics, compared to like fiberglass, compared to wood or other materials, the units are designed to be broken down into single pieces that can be stacked on pallets and shipped a lot more economically or repaired a lot more efficiently than if it was all one piece or all made out of wood or something, like you had to build it yourself. I was just thinking about that is huge and really encouraged and benefited the industry as a provider, as from an operator's perspective, because otherwise it would be very inefficient to do that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So yeah, anyways, that really, I would say, helped the industry as a whole, and kind of encouraged, the growth of the industry from an operator's perspective, from, a manufacturer's perspective. There was a lot of innovation that took place between the 60s and 70s and today, and there's still a lot of innovation going on. So
absolutely.
I'd say there's a lot of growth for the industry looking forward.
I think so too.
Yeah, it's kind of fun to look all this stuff up. It's interesting.
I mean, I definitely learned a lot I mean, I kind of knew about the shipyard. I found that out on accident, and that kind of like sparked this idea.
Yes.
For this video, but it was just really interesting to learn about. I know you mentioned earlier that there was a connection between, what was his name, George Harding and Satellite. I mean, even though he created Polygon,
I thought I thought I remember seeing that. There was a lot. So in the 80s and 90s, you know, after getting out of the 70s, there started to be a lot more companies get developed. I know, like, Satellite sold off their service division to BFI. BFI was kind of in competition with Waste Management, I think, around that same time, and they were both just buying up every, you know, major company that they could.
Sure.
There was a lot of acquisitions. There was a lot of growth in the industry there from the 80s and 90s. And then as that growth kind of continued, people were, you know, operators were looking to diversify, which is what led to things like restroom trailers and that kind of stuff. So there were some, you know, people, I don't want to say switching sides, but there were some people moving around between companies,
Sure.
you know, moving from maybe operator to manufacturer, or you know, manufacturer back to on the service side, on the operator side, and then also you know, getting involved with PSAI and, you know, really kind of trying to influence the industry from, you know, they're still in the industry, but they're not actually, you know, being operators in the industry, or, you know, they were doing both, trying to help other operators. So, and that was a common theme, actually, going back to the 70s when the PSAI was created, was, you know, helping companies work together. And one of the major events was the Winter Olympics in 2002. I think there was like 5 or 6 companies from upwards of almost 1,000 miles away from Utah brought in to help with that event. There's
really cool.
Like 60 or 80 people on site. There's over 2,300 restrooms, I believe, all brand new. They'd been built and delivered to Salt Lake City on purpose, and then
really cool.
It took them, you know, weeks upon weeks to get everything set up and, you know, coordinated. Like, it was a massive thing.
I mean, that's one thing
They had built custom, like, service vehicles so they could get up the mountain and through all the snow and everything. Yeah.
I mean, that's one thing I can say that I have noticed about this industry is that a lot of people are so willing to help teach and help. I always
educate
thought that was really
and
cool.
assist you if you need a truck or you need some units or whatever.
Especially when you first started out, you joined a page, and I can honestly say we've met some really amazing people from that, just from being on that page or going to industry-related events.
Trade shows,
It's just really cool how everybody from, you know, across the whole country can be connected that way. I think it's really cool. I haven't seen that before, so I think I'm gonna talk about it forever. But,
I've learned a ton, whether it's from like I said, like trade shows or other operators in the industry, and, you know, that the Facebook page and the Facebook page and everything, or the group, you know, really kind of assisted with that. So modern day technology obviously has its benefits for connection and communication, but
I don't know, I just haven't seen that in an industry before. Just everybody's so willing to help. I think
we're all kind of on the same mission to, you know, better the industry and better, you know, the experiences of the people that use our facilities, our equipment. So I'd say we're all kind of on that same mission, same path. So, and that kind of got started in the 60s and 70s. So it's continued on now for 60 or 50, 60 years. So, anyways, that's kind of all I've got, to be honest with you. Just not to cut it off, but
all we have this time. I don't know. I thought this would be a fun video.
Yeah.
I thought it was fun.
I enjoyed learning all this stuff. So.
Yeah. I don't know off the top of my head what we have planned for next week.
I don't know yet. We got that list, so we'll just have to look at it and pick.
Just see what makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. But otherwise, thank you guys for watching.
Yeah. Thank you.
We will be back again on Friday.
Next week.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Friday.
All right. Thank you
guys.